"Get off that lake, or you're going to jail." That's what the HOA president screamed across the water, while 3 cruisers lit the fog red and blue, and I sat in my dented aluminum boat on water I'd paid for with my own check. I wasn't partying, I wasn't dumping anything. I was just fishing and trying to breathe after the worst few months of my life. What she didn't see tucked in the cattails behind her perfect shoes was a dull metal post that wasn't trash at all. It was a federal marker, and the second I proved it, her whole little empire started to crack. My name is Mason Hale Land Surveyor, 22 years of looking for corners. Other folks walk past the kind of work that teaches you patience and where truth likes to hide. I bought a tired cabin on Northwind Lake in Fox Hollow because the silence felt like something I could heal, and my wife Laura had been gone 3 months, and the only thing that made sense was water and small jobs I could finish with my hands. That morning I slid the John boat off the roller's coffee in a chipped mug breath hanging like smoke, and I felt almost human again. Then sirens knifed the fog, and my stomach fell through the floor. The cops lined up at the public ramp, young one doing everything by the book, older sergeant watching the whole picture, and Brenda Albright, HOA President Pearl's clipboard, was already waving a printed violation. "Return to shore immediately," she shouted. "You're trespassing and contaminating a community water source. Contaminating with a single hook and a tub of worms." Yeah, that happened. At the dock, she pushed a $500 fine under my nose. Article 6, Section 12, Unauthorized Water Access. Payable in 10 days, sign here. I kept my voice low because numbers don't care if you yell. "I own this shoreline, and the attached water rights, ma'am, closed 3 months ago." Her smile froze, but the rest of her face twitched. "Ownership is complicated here. Our board controls lake activity for environmental integrity." That's when I spotted it. Behind her hip, half buried in reeds, that fat old government-style aluminum post, with the kind of serial stamp you can feel more than read. She shifted an inch to block it, which told me everything. And the sergeant's eyes flicked the way a man looks when he sees a problem he knows is real. I left without signing, told them I'd sort it out. Drove to the gas station and zoomed the photo I'd snapped while she performed her little show under the algae. A partial number popped, 6112B, and a font I knew from a lifetime of maps and deeds. I called the Coast Guard Regional Office, got Lieutenant Raina McCord, after a polite war with hold music, gave her coordinates and what I could read. She typed for a long time and said that spot should have a federal navigational aid from 1951, if it's authentic. And in place, you might not be on private water at all. You know what I mean. That word "might" can change your week. I drove straight to the county records bunker where everything smells like toner and rain, asked Miss Dolores Finch for the whole chain of title back to Eisenhower, and she lit up like a crossword puzzle on Sunday. We found it fast, and it stank. In 1984, the United States transferred 15 acres including the lake access to Ashford Holdings for $1. 6 months later, Ashford sold it to Brenda Albright for $1, then vanished, registered agent. Brenda herself, no federal easements, legal description, vague enough to park a truck in. Paper can be clean and wrong at the same time. That night, Brenda called me with a voice like a cat, purring at a bird. "You're new here, Mr. Hale. Things work a certain way. People who fit in do just fine." And I said, "I draw lines for a living. The ones you moved are coming home." Next morning, McCord rolled up with 2 specialists and a contract surveyor. No TV swagger, just gear and quiet. We pushed through the cattails, brushed the post clean. And there it was, U.S. Coast Guard, 1951. Nav Aid, 612B Ashford River. Channel Northwind Spur. She matched it on her tablet and said these waters were designated federal navigable. In 1948, no record of transfer out, and the surveyor tapped the concrete base and showed us the scars where someone had dug and reset it. 2 or 3 feet not storm-damaged tools and intention. 50 yards down, we dug up another marker bent and buried under rocks like a bone. Somebody didn't want the dog to find. McCord shut her tablet like a gavel. Moving federal markers is a crime we're looping in the FBI. You might want an attorney. And right then, my phone buzzed with a text. Stop asking questions, or you'll regret it. Fox Hollow called an emergency meeting because that's what HOAs do. When the mirror fogs up. The clubhouse smelled like lemon cleaner and nerves. Brenda sat at the head table in pearls, her slideshow full of sunsets and bullet points about property values and outsiders bringing government into our backyard. When she called me up, I didn't talk loud. I just put 2 images on the wall. Satellite with the 1951 Federal Survey overlay in red, then the marker before and after concealment, and said these are federal boundaries. Burying or moving them isn't tidying up. It's a felony. She laughed without humor. You don't understand how much we've invested to maintain this ecosystem. Reasonable fees are necessary, and from row 3 Mrs. Ruth. Kim stood up with a thick stack of carbon copies. I paid you $200 every spring for a fishing permit. 10 years. Why was I paying you to fish where my dad taught me to cast? I saw a reporter I knew, Nate Decker, look up like his pen had just remembered its job. That night, the FBI called Agent Marcus Ellery. Steady voice your documentation. Plus, that admission is significant. We should talk. The next meeting, Brenda ditched the slides and preached fear and control. Families at risk, bureaucrats taking our choices. She was good at that, moving people's stomachs before their brains. But when she handed me the mic, I played a recording from the last meeting. Her voice saying, I have every right to collect reasonable fees to maintain our natural resources. And Mrs. Kim held up her receipts again, and Ellery slipped into the back, didn't flash a badge, just existed, and the room tilted. Brenda banged the gavel and ran the meeting into a wall. The next morning, a process server handed me a lawsuit at my mailbox. Defamation interference, emotional distress, $250,000 plus fees. My attorney, Colin Pierce, read it, nodded like he'd seen the trick before. Slap will file anti-slap stick to facts. Let the clock work for us. Then came the whispers. I was unstable since Laura died. I hated rules. I was dangerous near water, and a neighbor from the far cul-de-sac. Mrs. Henderson called to say Brenda had offered her $500 for an affidavit, saying she'd seen me acting erratic. She told Brenda to pound sand, but she wanted me to know. Here's your midpoint twist if you like tidy structures. It wasn't a boundary mistake at all. It was a plan. A shell company moved federal water for $1. The markers were yanked and reset, and for years she'd charged people to access what already belonged to them. She didn't protect the lake, she monetized the lie. The night it broke open, the air tasted like burning plastic. I followed the glow to Brenda's backyard and stood on the public sidewalk recording as she fed bank ledgers and HOA printouts into a barrel. Those look like financial records, I said. Destroying evidence in a federal investigation is a felony. Get off my property, she screamed. You're trespassing. And the fire crew rolled in on a 911 call, and the police took notes, and Ellery arrived with a warrant like he'd been waiting across the street. He stayed calm. Mrs. Albright, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence in a federal investigation. You have the right to remain silent." Her chin went up, but the cuffs didn't care. They just ended a long run. People ask if I felt triumphant like the little guy beat the machine, but what I felt was a quiet I hadn't touched since Laura's last day. The quiet of a line put back where it belongs. The next morning, the search warrant looked like a small parade boxes and hard drives out the door. Neighbors clustered in that polite circle of curiosity and shame. Nate wrote fast, and Mrs. Kim called later to say they found ledgers going back 15 years. Families paying and paying for access to water that never belonged to Brenda. A grand jury returned a thick indictment, land fraud mail and wire fraud money laundering obstruction. The arraignment was marble and echoes. Her lawyer tried to sell complexity. The judge read the arrest report and about the burn barrel and set bail high. And I went to the public pier and watched a dad teach his daughter how to pinch a split shot and felt something in my chest uncoil. Here's where I land, and you can argue with me in the comments I didn't win because I yelled louder. I won because the ground remembers where it belongs, and if you listen and bring a level, it will tell you. We ended at the cuffs. That's the moment I'm willing to own after that. It's just cleanup restitution, rebuilding trust. But the lake looks honest now, signs that say, public access actually mean it. And the markers stand where they were always meant to stand. So tell me, where's the line for you? Should an HOA be allowed to police a lake if they swear it's for the environment, if federal water is for everyone? How do you feel about neighbors paying for a decade to fish, where their grandparents taught them? Was I right to bring in the feds, or should I have kept it inside the neighborhood? Take your stories, your receipts. And if you've ever had to push a line back to where it belongs, I want to hear how you did it.